In many ways, Norway is an example to follow when it comes to sustainable development. Norway is 1 out of 3 OECD countries, giving as much as 1% of their national budget to foreign aid. Another example is gender equality. After implementing a law in 2003 about gender balance, the number of women on joint stock company boards has increased from 7 to above 40%. Norway's sustainable vision can even be found in the constitution. Despite all of the good things, there is still a lot that can be done better. Luckily, Norway has many young and engaged people working hard to push the country in a sustainable direction.
One of the largest global issues is tax avoidance, and actually every year 10 times as much as the world's total amount of aid disappears from poor countries in tax avoidance. And this is a huge issue for poor countries in the world today, because they are not given the tax they need to develop their country. And this is a lot more important than aid. Tax is a foundation for development. So what we realized here in Norway is that we have to make sure that our companies is paying tax in poor countries. We use something called the changemaker method, and it's a 3-step method. The first is that we recognize what is the problem, what is a structural reason for injustice in the world that we want to change. And the second step is, what is the solution? How can we as youth contribute to a solution to this problem? And the third step is finding the relevant decision makers and influencing their decisions. So what we did was that we had to change the mind of our finance minister. His name was Sigbjørn Johnsen. So we made a web page called 100 Reasons to Love Sigbjørn, or Siggy. And this fan page was hilarious, and he loved it, and his advisors loved it, and the media loved it. So we got a lot of attention around this fan club. And after a year of cheering him up and meeting him a lot of times with posters, and people were fainting, and it was a real fan club experience. And he promised that by 2014 Norway would have a country-by-country reporting law. And it happened.
Of course, Changemaker is not the only youth organization working to improve political issues in Norway.
The problem was that basically a lot of oil companies wanted to drill after oil in Lofoten, Vesterålen and Senja, which are maybe the cleanest coastal areas in the whole of Europe. So it's like the cod population, they go there to breed, to live, and that's basically the food we eat all over the world. It's just such a clean area that we couldn't risk an oil spill happening or like a rig exploding. And that we discovered that the whole population around those areas they were for drilling, they wanted the drilling, wanted the income, so we had to start talking to people and talking to the oil industry and talking to the politicians. So we decided to use all our forces to work for that cause. What we did first was to stop the actual first test boat, or the first test drill. So we had activists coming in small boats, and then some of them jumped into the water and some of them stayed on the boat. And then we stopped a huge oil rig and made it turn back. Then the second one was just talking to all political parties, standing outside their national meetings, having huge concerts, both in northern Norway and in Oslo. We've made it, for the past 15 years, politically impossible to open the area.
So why are youth organizations so important?
Youth organizations in Norway is really important to improve development politics in Norway.
We're important because we're young. We're the ones who have to see the consequences in 50 years or 80 years, and that's why we have to start now.
A world with more justice is definitely a world with more sustainability.